With mutantkind staring down the barrel of destruction and the threat of the Sentinel City, will they all stay true to their cause and their heroic ideals, or will they crumble under the pressure? Well, let's hop into the pages of Fall of the House of X issue number 4 and find out together, shall we? So then, as we pick up with this brand new issue, we actually get to check on in with Apocalypse and the rest of the Arakai mutants. They've come to reinforce Juggernaut and save the debilitated island of Krakoa, and they do this by positively absolutely tearing their way through Orchis forces like they were goddamn wet tissue paper or something. Also, I freely admit, because I wasn't reading X-Men Red, I've probably missed massive chunks of Apocalypse's characterization, but can someone explain to me, did they actually give a reason as to why? He went from enlightened man of peace with a brand new name back to his more classic kill-em-all persona. Again, I'd really appreciate that. Now, it's not just killing people that Apocalypse is doing, he's also come with a plan to bring Krakoa back to its former glory. Of course, to make that particular omelet, they're going to have to break a few eggs. Remember, Krakoa as an island basically always lived off mutant psychic energy. So basically the only way to make the island healthy and whole again is for Apocalypse to reinstate the Crucible. Thankfully for him, though, there's plenty of mutants who want to die in glorious battle, like an old Arakai guy who wants to die on his feet. But perhaps the most interesting volunteer for this ritual sacrifice is actually Wrong Slide. Forgot who this character was? Yeah, I did too and had to actually look it up. Remember back during X of Swords when Rockslide was one of the first people to actually die in Otherworld, and then the Five tried to resurrect him but he came back all weird and messed up? Well, this is the guy who that became. Now, though, he hopes by sacrificing himself he will finally be able to give his life meaning, and hey, to Wrong Slide's credit, he actually does manage to hold his own against Apocalypse for longer than most others. He also says that when he dies, he basically hopes he'll get to see Santos, the original Rockslide, again. Well, hey, there's another storyline they wrapped up that I had personally forgotten about. Now, the rest of the story once again concentrates on Cyclops and the mutant revolutionaries trying to fight the good fight out there. Scott is saved from the explosion of the summer house by Magic, who is able to teleport him away from danger. Unfortunately, there's nothing but danger left for mutant kind right now, as the new and improved Nimrod is literally able to appear multiple different places at once. In fact, between this and the launch of the Sentinel City, things have gotten so bad that Charles Xavier has decided to seek an audience with Omega Sentinel, aka the true power behind Orchis as an organization, so that he can try and ink some sort of deal for the future of mutant survival. Now, this might seem like a huge slap in the face, and admittedly it is a hard pill to swallow, but you gotta remember none of this makes sense if you weren't also reading the events of Rise of the Powers of X, wherein Professor X basically risked it all and failed traveling back in time to try and kill Moira McTaggart before her powers could activate and all of these recent Krakoan events could be kicked into action. So with his back against the wall and basically no options left, Professor Xavier tries to make a deal with Omega Sentinel, saying that if the mutants are allowed to live, say in some sort of menagerie, which actually does connect to something we saw back in the original pages of Hawks and Pox, then in return not only will Xavier not stop the evil machines from trying to complete their programming in ascending to the level of a Dominion, he'll actually also go a step further by stopping the humans from launching a massive nuclear strike on Orchis right now. Obviously, once Cyclops and the others realize what's going on here and that Xavier has basically betrayed them, they are understandably pretty pissed off. Xavier teleports Scott's mind to the astral plane so that he could plead his case to Cyclops, and yes, isn't it funny that the venue he chose to have this conversation in is the X-Men's old baseball diamond, which Scott finds quite insulting, almost like Professor X is saying all this time later he still very much sees Scott as a child. Charles says that this was a terrible option, but it was the only one he had left and that a deal had to be made. Cyclops actually really manages to get him good, when he basically says, ah yes, exactly what we needed, another Charles Xavier deal. They've been so good recently, like, oh, I don't know, the one you struck at the Hellfire Gala when we all still wanted to fight, or oh, I don't know, the one you struck with Moira McTaggart all the way back when this first began with Krakoa. The long and short of it is, Cyclops and the other mutants officially can no longer trust Professor Xavier. In fact, Scott even goes as far as to say that Emma Frost should ready herself for a psychic duel, as if push comes to shove, she might actually be the only one able to stop Charles. And as far as the Sentinel City goes, well, they have to move up the timetable on that too, Manifold using his teleportation power to literally move the space station all the X-Men were standing on directly into the Sentinel City, which I'm still not 100% sure what the hell that actually is or what it's supposed to do. For what it's worth, Nimrod and Omega Sentinel are caught off guard, for a minute at least, before they once again commence kicking the ever-loving crap out of our poor heroes. But as we've seen time and time again, just when things look their darkest, help comes from elsewhere. The robots end up getting readings about an incredibly powerful solar storm coming their direction. At first they think it's coming from space, but oh no, wait, it's not, it's coming from Earth. Yes, that's right everyone, Aurora Monroe is back and she is ready to drop 10 million gigatons of kick-ass directly on top of what remains of Orchis' power structure, and it's on that note right there the comic comes to an end, everyone. So that was Fall of the House of X issue number 4, and for what it's worth, we really are seeing the fall now. In fact, the events of this story basically go out of their way to explain why we haven't actually seen Professor X in any of the promotional material for From Ashes. And that's because he basically tried to betray all of mutant kind, which again, makes sense if you've been following his character journey and if you've been reading all the books, but even if you have, the main problem with House and Powers basically remains the same, and that is they've kicked in the turbo so goddamn hard now and are moving at such a breakneck pace. Even what should be really interesting, really dramatic character turns are kind of robbed of a lot of their impact because they're just one of 100 other things that happened in this story all at once, because again, they're trying to wrap it up as quickly as they possibly can. And while I'm certainly still enjoying the story, I can't help but shake the feeling I would be enjoying it a lot more if all the events of House and Powers were able to be spread out. Maybe then they could breathe a little bit, and maybe then some of these bigger character moments would hit just that much harder. Overall, though, I think I'd feel comfortable giving this one a 7 out of 10.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.